Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by the Ring Video Doorbell. With Ring, you can see and talk to anyone at your door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. It's like caller ID for your home. Get $25 off the Ring Video Doorbell when you go to ring.com/knowhow. That's ring.com/knowhow. And by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/twit.
Today on Know-How, super fast memory.
We're checking our bacterial cultures.
How to choose an SSD.
And your questions, our answers. Welcome to Know-How. It's the Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
And I'm Bryan Burnett.
And for the next hour or so, we're going to be showing you some of the projects that we've been working on so you can take them home and geek out on your own.
And we're totally not going to explain what that little thing was
If you
from.
don't get the reference, you need to find out. Just, find out. No.
So what were you geeking out about this weekend?
You know, this weekend had some big news. Intel and Micron got together, and they've been working on a new technology, a memory technology. Actually, it goes beyond a memory technology. It's a new type of architecture that they use for memory that they're calling 3D XPoint. And by all looks, it's going to change the way that we think about computers.
By a huge margin, right?
By a huge margin. And, you know, there are a lot of advancements that are just, well, okay, it's faster, right? Faster CPU, faster memory. This is going to blur the lines between system memory and storage memory. Now, when we talk about system memory and storage memory, it's because we've traditionally had something that's kind of slow-ish, like a hard drive or SSD, or maybe even a RAM drive that stores programs. It stores data. It's non-volatile, so it will stay there when the computer turns off. And then you have the volatile memory, which is ultra fast, which is sort of like the brain space for the CPU. When it needs to do calculations, that's where it does it.
And that would be the RAM.
That would be the RAM. Well, this 3D XPoint is 1,000 times faster than even an SSD, which already is ridiculously so much faster than a hard drive. It lasts far longer, 1,000 times longer than what we would use in an SSD, which would be NAND flash. And it also happens to be 10 times more dense than DRAM system memory.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when do we get to play with it then?
Well, that's the thing. So normally when we hear about things like this, it's like, oh, when they get the manufacturing process done in 10 years.
That's what I was going to say. In about 10 years, we should see this in your computer.
They have already created it, and they're going to be giving out samples to manufacturers this year, and they said we should start to see wide availability 2016, probably mid-year or so.
Ah, that's exciting. But then also I realized that my computer already is having issues keeping up with SSD technology, so I'm guessing motherboards and PCI Express is,
that's
is that the way to go?
That's the thing. That's why it's going to redefine how we think about computers, because it's not just another component we plug in. This is not just a faster hard drive. This is going to change the way we create computers. I think what we should probably do is talk a little bit about the technology first. Alex, if you could go ahead and bring up that slide. So this is what it looks like. This is why they call it XPoint. So if you look at it, they call it XPoint because those little wires look like an X when you view them from above.
That makes sense.
Now, again, this is more dense than DRAM. It's far more robust than NAND flash, and it's faster than NAND flash. The reason why is because of how they created it. Let's talk a little bit about the technology, and keep this up so that we can actually refer to the picture. Now, it's a grid of parallel and perpendicular wires. See how you have wires going one direction on the top, and then down below they go in the other direction?
Right.
Now, that's how you address those columns. That column is the memory space. So that's either a 1 or a 0, right?
Okay.
So in one state it's on, one state it's off.
Right.
Okay. Now in the old way of addressing memory, you would have, if it was a flash, so one of these things, NAND flash,
right,
you would have a transistor that could detect the state of charge inside of essentially a capacitor.
And that would be the 1 or 0?
The 1 or 0. There's a charge there, it's a 1. There's no charge there, there's a 0. That transistor was also responsible for forcing charge into there or removing it if you wanted to switch states.
Which then over time it degrades, right?
Right. That's why SSDs die, because over time that insulation will start to wear down and the cell will no longer be able to hold the charge, and it can't tell if it's a 1 or a 0.
Right. But this doesn't have that issue.
There is no capacitor here. This material, it's a phase change material, and you actually change the nature of the material rather than making it hold a charge.
That's pretty cool.
It's so trippy. But the other cool thing about this is there's no transistor. Notice how there's no device that checks state. You address it just by addressing the wire that's on the top and the bottom. And because it's in this cross pattern, it's always unique. If you get 2 wires, it will always address just 1 cell.
That is pretty awesome.
Right. So that's why it's called the crosspoint. That's the crosspoint array structure. Also, you've got that transistor thing, which I just talked about, which means first, it's going to wear less. Second, you're going to be able to compact it a whole lot more because you don't have that extra component per memory cell. And third, it also means, well, you're just going to go.
I can see why you're excited about this. I mean, you're a pretty big SSD guy to begin with, but this seems like a whole new leap.
It is a whole new leap, and also because it's got such a long life, and because it is so fast, it's still slower than system memory, by the way, DRAM. Okay, it's not as fast, but it is so much faster than SSDs that people are already talking about what they could do with it.
Right.
It could be a cache for your SSD because your SSD is so slow.
So a hybrid drive.
A hybrid drive.
SSD memory.
Exactly. But it's more than just bigger, faster. They're going to have to rethink of the way that they create computers, because you can't just plug this into SATA. SATA is already saturated by SSDs. We've already topped out how fast we can get on SATA with this, 550 megabytes per second. You can't, that's it.
Which is fast.
It's fast, but like this will do 1400 and 1000, which is so much faster. That's why I love the Predator. It's on the PCIe bus. But this crosspoint technology is way, way faster than you can get even with the next revision of PCIe. PCIe 4, which, by the way, we're only on PCIe 2 right now. We're starting to move into 3.
Jeez.
Can do about just under 32 gigabytes per second.
Wow. That's still pretty dang fast.
It's pretty dang fast. It's nowhere near what I can pull with the crosspoint memory, though. So we don't have a bus that currently exists
to take advantage of this.
So you know, we're already talking about, well, does this mean that they're going to integrate it with the CPU die? Is this going to become like the new L3 cache? Or I heard a very intriguing idea over the last couple of days of people saying, do you just start making die on chip? You give this direct access to the CPU by putting it on the same piece of silicon. So yeah, I'm so excited. Something like this hasn't happened in a generation. We've been using the same architecture since I was first building computers. Wow. You know, slightly faster, but this is completely different. This is gonna change the way we build.
So I wonder too if you could just instead of using DRAM at all, just use some of the. It's not as fast, but just like have one bank of memory dedicated to all that.
Yeah, that's the thing. So there are going to be certain applications where you don't need the super fast DRAM, or maybe you need a small bit of DRAM, but most of the computing can be done, it would be called computing in place. In other words, the place where you store the data, that's also the place where the CPU does those calculations.
Exactly, yeah.
And now this is the freaky part, which means you're not only changing the hardware now, you need to change the software. Operating systems will need to be changed to take advantage of that advancement.
But I just got Windows 10. No.
Yeah, and so I don't know how the industry is going to react. I want to see some really freaky implementations of this. I want to see data center applications that are using blocks and blocks of this stuff to give us super fast I/O. Now there are a couple of things that we still need to figure out. We don't know how expensive it's going to be. And that means we don't know the yields.
And is it just Intel that has this technology?
It's Intel Micron, so it's a partnership. But of course, Intel Micron, they don't make products. They make products that other companies will use. They don't sell directly to us. That's not their game.
Right.
But we need to figure out what kind of yields they're going to get, because I'm thinking that it's probably going to be pretty good because they're removing transistors. Anytime you remove complexity from the silicon,
right,
it's going to be good.
It's going to be cheaper.
It's going to be a little bit cheaper. So if the price point on this is lower than what you can make like NAND flash for, NAND flash doesn't survive.
Yeah, no, this is exciting though. I thought they were already kind of implementing some of this technology in certain stuff right now, like was it like emergency call centers or something like that?
Right. Yeah. So
that's the plan.
Anytime you need robust, non-volatile memory, this is where it's going to be.
Okay.
And I mean, if they can get the price point on this, where I think they can get the price point, hard drives are completely dead.
They're gone.
They're gone.
Because you have the amount of storage and the speed.
And the price.
And the price,
right. And the longevity. I mean, one of the things that people have still been using hard drives for is you can only have a limited amount of writes.
Right.
Like, a couple of, maybe 1,000, 2,000 PE program erase cycles on a NAND cell before it can no longer hold charge. If I can now do 10 million writes, then it's more durable than a hard drive.
Right. And even a spinning platter hard drive where eventually that will fail too.
Right, right.
Cool.
So I guess that's a nice long way to say I'm so excited.
You can tell when I walked into the studio today, I was like, he is suspiciously excited about something.
It's even better than Top Gear on Amazon Prime. But I will say though, it's going to take a while before we start actually getting these devices in our hands. So until then, it's still going to be all about PCIe SSDs.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'll play with that one, right?
No.
I'll let you have the other one.
It's not happening. No. All right, Brian. So we have been doing a little experiment the last couple of weeks.
Yes, mad scientist.
Mad science, little mad science, and we were showing them how to make petri dishes. Right? How the first episode was all about making a mess. Actually.
Right. Yeah, that was totally on purpose. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a mess. But then we properly set up an experiment, and that included making a hypothesis and then creating an experiment to either prove or disprove that hypothesis.
Right, and we were trying to find out how much bacteria was on your cell phone.
Right, specifically we were trying to find out how much bacteria is on your cell phone because we wanted to know if something like this, the phone soap, which is what's like a $65 device that we're going to be testing on before you buy, we wanted to know if it was actually worth it. Could it, with its UV light, actually kill all the bacteria on your phone, which...
We were a little suspicious, but
yeah, I mean...
That's why we're performing the experiment.
Exactly. It sounds like one of those late night, buy it now and we'll include a set of steak knives.
Yeah, with 3 easy installment payments of $24.99, this could be yours.
Yeah, so it would be really easy to look at this and laugh, but instead we decided to create an experiment. What we did was we swabbed a phone, using our petri dishes,
right.
And then we ran it through the cycle. We ran an entire cycle on the phone soap with our test phone.
Yep.
And what we got was magical.
Well, we also had a little fun with it where we tested some of the surfaces around the studio.
Yeah. Well, we had extra petri dishes, so we're like, yeah, let's go ahead and test the surface. Now, I should show people this. This is something that we've been using.
This is
so ghetto.
Our elaborate warming system.
This
for
is
the
our
petri
incubator.
Dishes. Yep.
I would suggest not, if I do this again, I'm going to design a temperature control because I'm pretty sure we killed off some of the bacteria.
We
it got
probably
a little too hot.
Should have done that before we did the petri dishes.
Yeah. So I will do a know-how on. It was just a light inside of a box that allowed it to keep a temperature that was comfortable for the bacteria because we wanted to encourage growth, right?
Right.
But it totally worked.
But if it's too hot, it'll kill growth.
Kill the bacteria.
Yeah.
Well, and the worst part is it could kill just some of the bacteria
and then leave other ones.
Yeah, so yeah, that happened. In any case, we have this. Remember, every experiment has to have a couple of controls. This was our media control. This was a petri dish that we did not do anything to. We sealed it and we called it control.
Right.
And that's because we wanted to find out if the agar itself had been contaminated. Remember when we made all these things?
Yes.
It was messy, right?
Right.
But let's get our makeshift incubator off the table here.
Sure.
If you take a look, get down there. At the control dish, there's no growth in here, and that's good. That means that okay, our media is valid. We're done with this now. Okay. Now, if there had been any growth in here whatsoever, we'd have to invalidate the experiment
because that means our base was infected.
Right. Now, if you ever do an experiment and you don't do the control, you should slap yourself. Bad scientist. Bad scientist.
Have you ever because you ordered some of these too,
Correct.
right? Pre-made. Have you ever had ones that were already infected?
Which is why I kind of like making my own.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, at the school that I live at, we have a bio lab, and they have what's called an autoclave, which makes it very easy to make your own. Because basically, I pour the agar in, and then I put it into what's a pressurized oven, and it makes a perfect sterilized petri dish.
That's awesome.
I've bought some of the pre-poured before, and then like nasty. Yeah. So just know that if you buy pre-poured, it's normally really, really good, but if you get a bad batch, it will invalidate your experiment. So that's our control.
Okay, nothing there. This is where it gets exciting.
This is the exciting stuff. So inside here is the future of Twit.
Yeah.
Will we have the zombie apocalypse?
I believe so.
So let's take a look. Oh, it smells lovely, by the way. There's nothing like cooking agar.
I caught a whiff of it earlier. It was not nice.
It's not great. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to take our samples. I'm going to put these all the way at the end of the display because we want to first show off some of the things from around the Twit brick house.
Yeah. Ooh.
We've been growing this for a week.
Oh, there's some bad ones.
There's some bad ones in here. So I'm gonna start off with some of the not so bad ones. All right. So this, if we take a look, that's Josh's mouth.
Okay.
Which is, that's actually
there's some stuff living in there, but it's not as dirty as his language.
Well, especially when you compare it to Bryan's ear. So, Josh's mouth, Bryan's ear.
And the impressive thing about this one is that this grew way faster than any of the other ones.
Oh yeah, this was like the first day.
The first day.
The first day it was out. So. And we're going to talk a little bit later about how we identify these because there's a few things that you need to key on. And you need to key on, well, are the colonies? See these little blobs? Those are colonies of bacteria. Are they linked? Are they waxy? How big are they? How high are they?
They do look a little earwaxy.
Yeah. So we definitely have different kinds of bacteria growing in these two cultures. So there's a difference between the bacteria that grows in our mouths and in our ears.
To be fair, no one else got their ear swabbed.
No,
so we have no
control.
If this is normal or if this is horrifyingly disgusting.
Okay. So let's take that apart. Here's a little something. What is this one? Oh, yes. So this is where we eat. This is actually not bad. This is our break table. We have some very well-defined colonies here. So those are all the same bacteria. And then we've got these little white waxy colonies.
Is there any way to identify what?
Yeah. So we're gonna show you how you identify those in a bit. Okay. It's actually it's way more technical than we're gonna get into because I can't pronounce the names of the bacteria because they're all Latin.
Could you send your cultures to someone?
Like, you can.
Just take a picture and then email to like a.
Yeah. Actually, there's a lot of boards out there where you just snap your photos and you put it up, and in an hour you have that's Bacillus Tyrannosaurus rexium.
You get a message back like, get out of the room
now. Get out. Here's something.
Which one's this? Is this the toilet seat?
Toilet seat.
Oh, wow.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing.
You could eat off of that.
You really
could.
So, again, I mean, that's something that they do every time.
We kind of suspected that.
We suspected. Now, compare the toilet seat to this.
What's that?
That's the faucet. So evidently we clean the toilet, we do not clean the faucet.
Wow, it looks like I rubbed my ear all over the faucet.
Is that the faucet handle?
Yeah, the top of the handle.
Exactly. So, yeah. Okay. All right.
All right. So I will no longer be washing my hands.
Remember, we thought, the microphones are going to be disgusting.
Right. Nothing. There's nothing in there. There's one little guy.
Although Mike Elgin, I think he solved this. I did not know that the what do they call that thing? What's the filter? The pop filter? Oh. It's got silver in it.
Oh, does silver?
Silver's an antimicrobial.
Oh, clever.
So I'm betting where I got this was probably just like a particle that was embedded in the filter, but there was no actual bacteria living on the filter itself.
Okay, that's pretty smart.
Now you want to get really grossed out?
Did we do the TriCaster? I can't remember. Or was it just my ear? Oh, dear God. What is that? Where did these come from?
Okay. Leo's keyboard.
Oh, wow.
And by the way, that's actually really good. Keyboards are normally ridiculously. That's not bad actually.
Where
That's
did that
mold.
one come
That's
from?
mold. That's mold. That's mold. And so there's some bacteria. But by and far, the worst is this.
Which one is
That's the TriCaster.
Yeah, I figured. Oh, they're crawling all over the board.
So folks, there you have it. Okay, now this was all just for funsies, right? Yeah, we know there's going to be bacteria and the TriCaster surface, to be fair, I've seen people eating there.
Yeah.
Everyone touches those controls.
Yeah.
And anytime you get someone touching with a finger, you're going to get a little bit of mold growth. Mold spores are all over. Come back here.
Where's the sanitizer? Where's the sanitizer?
Oh, wait. Probably should have told you we should be wearing gloves. I got gloves here if you want it.
Yes, give me that. Give me that. I need to bathe myself now. We should be wearing gloves, you say? Why do you tell me this after the fact?
Oh, by the way, folks, so before you do any of these experiments, make sure you're wearing gloves.
I'm gonna squirt some in my ear.
All right, now.
So this is why I wash my hands after touching the TriCaster every single
This
show.
is why I don't trust.
I need to bathe.
I don't touch the TriCaster anymore.
I
So let me stack these away. Here's what we were waiting for. We needed to know if there was bacterial growth on our phone before and after.
Right.
Because that's going to tell us whether or not this thing actually does what it says it does, which is killing bacteria.
All right, let's find out.
So let's find out. Now, what we needed is we needed the control, and then we needed the experimental sample. So let me show you the control first. This was actually surprising. So even beyond the hypothesis, that's not a lot. I mean, there is definitely bacterial growth on the phone. It took a long time for this to come out. This was like a 5-day incubation before we started to see these.
Yeah.
And we've got at least, I'm counting 4 different types of bacteria here. This kind of striggly one, those small colonies, these colonies that are a different color, and then this white waxy one. And so that was the before. I honestly, I thought phones were going to be a whole lot more disgusting than
Well,
this.
especially your phone, too.
I know. I haven't ever watched my phone, so.
Yeah, and I will continue to not wash my phone.
But Jason Howell actually told me, you know, there's a lot of phones now that are actually treated and have antimicrobial screening, antimicrobial materials built into them. Now, this was off of a
silver.
1+1. Not silver, but like Gorilla Glass doesn't evidently hold a lot of bacteria unless
that
you've got
makes sense, because I would imagine the bacteria probably has to have something to live on to actually grow.
Right. So there is something, but not nearly as much as I had thought.
Not too bad.
So, you want to see the actual experiment?
Yes.
Here are the experimental samples.
Whoa.
Believe it or not,
it works.
it works. These are totally clear. There's nothing growing here. I mean, I've got the scrapes. I can see the scrapes where
From the Q-tip.
where I dug in with the swab, but
That's
pretty conclusive. This thing
does what it's
supposed to do. Yeah, UV light does kill bacteria. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to find a phone that's not treated or that has a whole lot more bacteria than this, just because I want to see if it can do as good of a job on a phone that's actually filthy, that actually has bacterial growth rather than just a couple of colonies.
Yeah, you know what we could do is take everyone's phone around the studio and see if the iPhone has more bacteria or an Android phone, but it also probably depends on the person.
Yeah. The other thing I think we should probably test in the future is compare this to just like washing down a phone with soap and water or washing down a phone with like a bleach wipe. Because a bleach wipe will kill everything too.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's still $65 compared to, 2 cents for a wet wipe. I don't know. I don't know. But folks, this is how you do science. This is, we had an experiment, we had an hypothesis that was trying to prove or disprove, a hypothesis that the experiment was trying to prove or disprove, and now we can conclusively say that yes, UV light in the phone soap will kill bacteria on your phone.
Good. Good to know. Yeah. Now I'm going to put my phone in here.
Yeah. This is not the last time you're going to see these bacteriological experiments. We're going to be coming back. We've actually got a couple planned already that are going to be kind of fun. And we're going to actually be going out of the brick house because people are tired of us swabbing their keyboards, showing them how dirty this place is.
We were going to go to the nearby river, right?
Yes.
The Petaluma River.
Yes.
It's like so gloriously clean and pure.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I can't go in. We did run out of time. I can't go into how to identify these bacterial colonies. But Alex, there's a link there. If you could go ahead and click on that link under the different forms identifying bacterial colonies. There's plenty of resources on the internet that will show you pictures of what the bacteria looks like. What you're going to be looking for is look for how high are these colonies. Most of these colonies are pretty flat.
Except for the mold.
Yeah, the mold, it looks very not flat, and you get like these really strange striations. That's going to tell you what kind of bacteria you have. The color, the size, how they're connected, whether or not they're in a string or not, that's all part of the identification process. So yeah, give that a try.
What do you do with these now that you're done? Do you just toss them?
I'm going to put them in the fridge.
Yeah.
No.
I'm sure Debbie would appreciate that.
Actually, very, very good point. When you're done, anytime you're playing with bacteria, even though this is pretty benign bacteria, make sure that you throw away all like gloves, goggles.
Yeah, I'm glad you told me about the gloves after we started handling all these.
Sorry about that. But I also have a spray bottle that has 10% bleach.
Okay.
And so what I'll do is I'll crack open the Petri dishes, I'll spray it with bleach, and then I'll throw them away. Now, if I was back at the school, what I would do is I would spray them with bleach, and then I would put them in the autoclave, 250 degrees for 5 minutes, and that kills everything, and then I'd throw it away.
Okay.
Yeah,
because you don't want to leave these out to get even more gross.
They'll keep growing because we've got plenty of agar in here, so they'll go until they're completely out of control. But what we don't want is we don't want to get in the habit of just tossing them away. This might be benign. There's nothing in here that's going to hurt people.
Right.
But if I was actually ever doing an experiment and I started growing something horrible,
yeah,
like E. coli, I would probably want to make sure it's dead before I throw it away.
Okay. And before it starts to crawl away.
Yeah. Or I could just wait long enough and it'll probably just leave on its own.
Yeah. It just, I don't know what happened. There's these little footprints.
You want to hold on to this one?
I kind of do. Like, I feel like responsible for this little colony of bacteria. Hey, guys.
You can raise and nurture them.
Mm-hmm. They're building
Are you
going to
name them, Brian?
Yes.
That one's little Alex.
What?
This little Tony over here.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
actually, I just thought maybe we should install a UV lamp over the TriCaster.
What if you hit these with UV light?
Dude,
just to see what...
It should kill them, yeah.
Would they start to disappear, or
no,
the little carcasses would be there?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's not good. They don't. It's not a death ray. It doesn't disintegrate them.
Sorry, guys, I wouldn't do that to you.
All right, now when we come back, we're going to be jumping away from bacteria and talking a little bit about SSDs. I had some of the guys from Kingston come over, and we just wanted to have a nice basic conversation about choosing SSDs. We've got a couple of different techs now. You know, you could do SATA, you could do PCI Express, you could maybe go for that new NVMe stuff that's coming out. They're going to give you the skinny on what you should be looking for. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a moment to thank the first sponsor of this episode of Know How. Now, you know what this is. You know it, you love it. This is the Ring Video Doorbell. Oh, I've been talking about this for weeks and weeks, not just because they're an advertiser, but because
we've been using it.
We've been using it. I actually installed this in my parents' home.
Which is the perfect example, yeah.
It is the perfect example. Now, here's what you get if you get one of these kits. You're going to get the Ring Video Doorbell, and you're going to get all the tools that you need to install it. That includes the little drill bit, the level, the screws, and the mounting hardware. And it also includes this. This is the Ring Video Doorbell itself. Now, this device will replace your doorbell. If you wire it into your existing doorbell, someone coming to the door and pushing this little button here will automatically ring the bell inside. If you don't have a wired doorbell, you could run this entirely wirelessly. It connects to your Wi-Fi system, and then from there it connects to the internet. You just charge it with this little micro USB port. You charge the battery once a year.
That's pretty cool.
Which is very cool. It's very fantastic. And it will stay charged. But if you do tie it into house power, it means you never have to charge it. It's always just ready to go. Oh, it's not just a really cool looking doorbell. This is actually a complete security system.
Right, because it'll detect motion. And
right, it detects motion, and you've got a camera that will give you two-way feedback. I've got this app installed on my phone, and my parents have it on their tablets all around the house, which means that when someone comes even close to the front yard, because they can set the parameters on when it sets off the motion detector, it will take a video. And they'll get a video of saying, oh, hey, how come that guy has come back 4 times as he never rang the bell?
Right, as he peeks into the window.
As he peeks into the window. That's the sort of stuff that you need to watch out for. That's the sort of stuff that the Ring Video Doorbell lets you see. Now, the other cool thing about this is when they do push the bell, it starts a call, just like you would get a phone call to your phone. And you can answer it and have a conversation with that person, even if you're not in the house.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, my parents have answered the door in Henderson, Nevada, while here in the Bay Area. And the cool thing is because they also have an automated door lock, when someone comes to the door that needs to come in, they can unlock the door as they're watching the person. And then inside the house, they have the interior cameras. So it really is, it's like caller ID for your home. More than that, it's a way to really sort of futurize the automation of your home. 95% of break-ins happen during the day, and that's what I was concerned about. These are my parents, and I wanted to make sure that they were safe. And I wanted to make sure that if anyone was acting sketchy, I'd have video of it.
Yeah, evidence.
Yeah. Folks, I can't recommend this enough. I mean, seriously, honestly, this is a product that I use and I trust. I trust my parents. I trust with my parents.
Right.
I don't really trust my parents.
Yeah.
That's why I got the Ring Video Doorbell.
Exactly.
But here's the cool thing. Right now, and for a limited time, I'm talking about just another week, you can get $25 off of a brand new Ring Video Doorbell. Because you're fans of Twit, because you're fans of know-how. Just go to ring.com/knowhow. Ring.com/knowhow. Give yourself a peace of mind for just $174. That's $25 off the normal price. Just go to ring.com/knowhow. Ring.com/knowhow. And we thank Ring for their support of know-how.
One reason why I buy this.
What?
And I mean, all those other reasons are great, just so I could customize the doorbell.
Because you don't want your dog barking at it.
Dog has learned what the doorbell means is that somebody's at the door and he freaks out.
Yeah.
So I want to change it to like the death
corgi butt.
If the boom, 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 boom. Then he would learn to dance.
Then he would learn to dance. Get the little corgi butt going on.
How did he have that music ready already?
How about that?
Oh, that's exactly what he would start doing when when that music would play for the doorbell.
Well, folks, we're done with corgi butt and we're done with bacteria for a while. But let's go ahead and drop into Studio B and find out what the Kingston guys are doing with SSDs.
Hi, I'm David Leong, PR Manager for Kingston Technology.
And I'm Cameron Crandall. I work on the SSD engineering team at our headquarters in Fountain Valley. And today we're going to talk about a couple of new products from Kingston, our HyperX Savage SSD, as well as our new HyperX PCI Express Predator drive that we just recently released.
So I'm going to be building a computer probably this weekend, and I want to build it for gaming. Is this going to be, is a SATA SSD going to be fast enough?
Yeah, more than likely a single SSD is going to be fast enough for what most gamers are going to be using their system for. HyperX Savage is our latest generation SSD, which utilizes the fastest NAND and fastest controllers that are available to us. We're still limited by the SATA port at about 550 megabytes a second, but that's still very, very fast. We don't have any of the mechanical latencies that we have with hard drives, so it should be fine for your build. You can always take performance a step further by doing RAID or even moving to a PCI Express type of SSD, but more than likely for what you're going to be using the system for, a standard SATA SSD is going to be just fine.
Yeah, if a standard SSD is good enough for gaming, why did we make something faster, our PCIe?
So PCIe allows us to break the 550 megabyte a second performance barrier that we have with serial ATA. It really just depends on what the user is using the system for. There are some applications and gaming where you could take advantage of the faster speeds that PCI Express offers. It really just depends on kind of how you're using the drive. If you really want to get down to timing, how long it takes for a game to load or a map to load, you might eke out a little bit more performance with a PCI Express SSD over a SATA-based SSD. But the percentage gains are much smaller going, if you're already using an SSD to go moving to PCI Express.
Are there other things about PCIe where the percentage gains are greater besides gaming?
More in applications where you're doing a lot of small random access to the drive. But what PCI Express really gives you is not only faster bandwidth performance, because we're going almost 3 times as fast as serial ATA, but there's also a latency factor that a lot of people kind of miss with PCI Express, and that is you've got much lower latencies connected through PCI Express than you do through the serial ATA bus.
You'd mentioned that this drive goes about 550 megabytes per second, but doesn't the SATA bus go 600 megabytes per second?
So yeah, so the spec calls for 600 megabytes a second, but in the real world, we can get about 550 megabytes a second out of a single SATA port, and that's why there's such a desire to move to a new interface, because we're at the peak of SATA performance. There won't be a SATA 12 gigabit. So PCI Express is going to be the next technology, not only on the enterprise side, but also on the client side. We're going to see more and more client systems, notebooks and desktops with PCI Express interfaces on them to attach SSDs to get us over that 550 megabyte a second barrier.
So, I keep hearing about PCIe Express, but we also have an M.2 solution. How does that?
Okay,
How is that a
so
PCIe?
Great question. So PCI Express has been in the marketplace for quite some time. It's really been more on the higher end, on the enterprise side for servers. Kingston has stayed out of this market primarily because it's been niche-y, low volume, and very, very expensive. However, today we have controllers and technology that bring that cost way down. So Predator is offered two ways, both in a half-height, half-length adapter like you see here, and then also in the M.2 form factor that you see here.
Without the bracket.
Without the bracket, right. So if you have a system that has an M.2 socket, you can forego the adapter and just drop the M.2 drive directly into its own socket. If you don't, and you just have the standard PCI Express slot on the motherboard, you can drop the card in and attach that way also. So again, we're talking nearly 3 times the performance of serial ATA. We're at about 1,400 megabytes a second read and 1,000 megabytes a second write out of a single drive.
So how is it that we can make, a PCIe SSD so much faster than SATA? If we're at 550, what you just mentioned is 2 to 3 times that, 2x, 3x speed-wise. But the components are the same. You've got a controller, you've got flash memory. What's different?
So the key to PCI Express is the fact that we've got a larger number of lanes to work with. So with a SATA device, we're limited to a single port, right?
Okay.
With PCI Express, we can go from literally 1 lane up to 16 lanes. Predator supports 4 lanes, and we get about 500 megabytes per second per lane. And that's what really gives us that big jump in performance. And it's just like the lanes of a freeway, right? We can get more cars down 4 lanes than we can on 2 lanes or 1 lane. Okay. So it's the same concept. The other important factor here is the driver interface. For a PCI Express device. There's typically 3 types of drivers that are in existence for PCI Express. One is a custom driver by the manufacturer, or it's AHCI, which is really available on pretty much every system that was built since 2007, or the new NVMe driver interface, which is still evolving today, but it's going to offer even greater performance than what we're seeing today out of PCI Express-based SSDs.
Why is there this urge to have NVMe, right now? What does that offer?
Yeah, so NVMe is going to offer faster performance over the AHCI driver interface that's primarily used on PCI Express SSDs today. And there's also some power tuning capabilities within the driver as well. So what that means is a system builder would be able to tune the power requirements for the SSD by using the NVMe driver itself. So, and that's really, really key because a PCI Express SSD can consume a lot of power. And power, as you know, in servers is very, very critical. We're always trying to consume as little power as possible. So if we have some adjustment in terms of the power that's being drawn from a device like this, then that's very, very important. But the NVMe driver is going to offer even greater performance over the current AHCI interface.
So then if we're going to recap, I want to build my system, gaming, general computer use. SATA is good enough.
Yeah, it's really user preference. If you want the fastest SSD that's available in the marketplace, you're going to go with PCI Express, right? You can get 3 times the performance over serial ATA. If you're looking for a kind of a lower cost, very, very fast SSD, SATA is definitely a great way to go. But just know that there are faster solutions in the marketplace at a pretty competitive cost point. But the PCI Express is going to carry a slightly higher price point than SATA.
Sounds really good. There's options out there.
Yep.
I have a lot to choose from.
I don't normally like having just people coming in and just talking about their products, but I know these guys, and they actually, if you listen, I mean, they were telling you when not to buy the more expensive one.
Right.
So that's why we let them go on. I mean, that's why I invited them. I know they were going to be honest about the technology. What it comes down to is, yes, the Predator. I love this thing. This thing is crazy, crazy fast. But for a lot of people who, like, if you're just creating a web surfing computer or just casual gaming, you're not gonna get the results
out of this.
It's like
recommending to your grandma to get a gaming video card or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yes, it's faster, but you're not going to really utilize
You're never going to use it, yeah.
Now, if you're doing like video editing, heck yes.
Yeah, you had some cool ideas with video editing. Because you were, what were you going to do? You were going to use like one for exporting and one for like where you kept your media?
It's basically, because what happens right now is you go off the storage device, process back to the storage device.
Right.
If you could make it, I mean, this is actually an old idea. This is how you used to create video editing machines. You'd have the asset drive, you'd have the operating system drive, and then you'd have the rendering drive.
Right.
And you get, it's ridiculously faster. It's so much faster. But so these guys are basically telling us, for most of us, the new generation of SSDs, and they said, look, Kingston, Intel, Samsung, they're going to give you comparable drives. You're all going to be able to get up to the maximum of SATA revision 3. Remember, SATA revision 3 does 6 gigabits per second, which once you take out over the overhead comes out to about 550 megabytes per second.
Right.
And we're there. So we ain't getting any faster. We're at the limit. There's not going to be a SATA revision 4 that we go to 12 gigabits per second. This is it. So that's why eventually we will move to PCIe, but unless you are a person who's building a custom computer that needs a lot of performance, you probably don't need it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. But I need it. Can I use it?
No, it's mine. Now people were asking, well, what's the price? What's the price?
Yeah.
This is going to come out to about $1 per gigabyte. That's what you're looking at. So the 240 gigabyte version of this is like $260. Right. The 480 gigabyte version of this is like $470. And then of course that starts to drop if you don't need the adapter. If you've got one of the new motherboards that has M2 slot in it, you can plug straight into there. You can just ignore the adapter altogether.
And after seeing what SSDs used to cost just a few years ago for speeds not even like half as fast as that, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, that is the strange thing, because I am now in the situation where I am replacing SSDs with SSDs. I mean, I have some Samsung drives like this one, which I really like. This is what, an 840, or no, this is an 830. Which, when I bought it, this was blazing fast. I think this will do like 300 and 250. Yeah. And now I'm just sitting there going, well, that's dumb. Why would I do that? That's ridiculously slow.
That's just silly.
That's just silly. So we are going to be having them back. They have a couple more topics for us. They want to talk in depth about the PCIe bus, because not all of you actually have, even if you have a PCI 4X slot in your computer that's available. Yeah. Not all of you have the right one. A lot of people are still using like version 1.1, and you won't get the full speed.
Get the speed.
Yeah. And also they're going to discuss, because this was a question that was asked in the chat room, in the Google Plus room, when is it time to replace an SSD? When an SSD is going bad? And we've got a nice little tutorial on that.
Very cool. Yeah. I feel like all of this is leading to us building a PC, Padre. A gaming PC, perhaps.
It might. We may have to finally just do that.
So then we can
got some budget.
Offer like a recommendation for the motherboard, so work with these faster SSDs.
And then we have a nice machine downstairs.
If it just happens to stay in the no-hole,
so this doesn't have anything to do with the fact that we've had to send back all our test systems, has it?
No, of course not.
Okay.
It totally doesn't have to do with my 5-year-old gaming PC that I'm still using.
When we come back, we're going to go ahead and do some of your questions, some of our answers, including talking about Defcon. There's been a lot of talk about Defcon because we're both going to be there.
Yep.
So we thought maybe we should give you a little primer for you first-timers, some people who are going to be heading over to have fun in the desert with some security nerds.
I'm a first-timer. This will be a first time going to Defcon.
Yeah, but you're with Cheeburn and I. We'll take care of you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we got you. You're covered. You're solid.
I just have to act confident.
Act confident.
I belong here.
And turn off all your devices.
I use a Windows phone. I should be fine, right?
Yeah, they have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
Now, did I ever tell you that before I entered the priesthood, the Jesuits, I actually owned a business?
You did tell me about that.
I did, yeah. Here in the Silicon Valley, and it was one of the first. It was sort of like a computer consultation firm.
Yeah.
Before people even knew what a consultation firm was. We would set up networks, we would build systems, we would provide service.
Geeky stuff.
Geeky stuff. And I did this all, when I was in high school.
Right.
Which was, I loved it. It was very lucrative.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I learned very, very soon after starting was my business is only as good as my weakest employee.
Yeah.
Especially since these are people who are actually dealing with clients. They had to go out to the site. They had to talk to people.
Yeah.
And they could be brilliant, but they might not quite understand that they're also representing the company. And that's where I learned how to fire people.
Yeah, I mean, running a business, you have a lot of things to worry about, and one of them you don't want to have to, you want to be able to trust the people that you employ.
Exactly, which means hiring the right candidates, which is why we are so happy to have on the show ZipRecruiter. Now, ZipRecruiter is the place to go if you want to hire quality candidates fast. Now, they understand that it's not enough to put your ad for a job posting in one place, on one website, on one job board, because you're going to get some candidates, but you don't want just some, you want the best candidates. Again, if they're just going to represent your company, they need to understand that it's not just a skill set, it's not just a job, it's a culture that they have to fit into. Now, they do that by allowing you to post to 100 different websites, all with one click. Now, did you know that summer is the best time to hire the best people? That's right, because your competitors are on vacation and there's less competition for quality candidates. And the quality candidates are coming back from their vacations, which means if you act now, you can snatch them up. You can get that right guy, that right man, that right woman, that right person who's going to show you exactly where they can take your business. Now, what ZipRecruiter will do is allow you to post to 100+ job sites and get instantly matched candidates from over 4 million resumes. You just post once, and within 24 hours, you can watch the candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. They've been used by over 400,000 businesses. You should use them too. Let me make it that simple. If you care about your business, if you want to spend more of your time dealing with what you actually create rather than who you hire, you owe it to yourself to use ZipRecruiter. Now, Janet, a happy ZipRecruiter client, said, I was looking for 2 positions at my marketing agency. Received 100+ resumes in a month and found most of the resumes to be spot on and well matched to our request. We have filled the jobs and would use ZipRecruiter again without hesitation. That is so typical of the people who use ZipRecruiter. They know it works for them, and I know it will work for you. Now, we want you to try ZipRecruiter today for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/twit. That's ZipRecruiter.com/twit. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of know-how. Hey, Brian.
Yeah?
Time for some feedback.
Yeah, that's right. We got some questions. And the first one comes from Walter McCormick. This is about Defcon. This will be my first year at Defcon, and I wanted to know what tech you recommend bringing/not bringing, and also how to keep safe during the conference. For example, not getting owned. Thank you so much.
This is actually a very common question because people hear Defcons are crazy.
You have told me enough scary stories that I don't want to bring any electronic devices with me.
Well, I mean, if you just walk around Defcon, you know people are actively hacking. That's what we're doing, and it's not a malicious thing. It's everyone understands the ground rules. In fact, I'll show you this room. They have on this room a huge projector screen that lists in real time people who are connected to the Defcon network who are transmitting things in clear text. So you get usernames and passwords scrolling past the screen. Now, they blur out part of it so that you can't just,
Right, just
so it's in fair play.
Someone.
Yeah, but it's the whole idea is, well, are you thinking about your own personal security? Now that I've made you kind of paranoid, let me tell you, you can bring devices, I just don't turn them on. I bring my phone. It's in airplane mode the whole time I'm at Defcon. And I don't mean not connected to the Wi-Fi, because I would never trust public Wi-Fi at a place like Defcon. But even like 3G, 4G, we had an intercept running last year.
Yeah.
So someone was actually slurping the 3G, 4G traffic. In fact, we have pictures of the guy going up the tower before Defcon to put the stinger there. So everyone knew about it. We're like, okay, if you use it, your fault.
Wow.
So yeah, I would bring my tech, but I would keep it off while I'm actually at the show, which means you need to make sure that you get everything you need for the conference on your devices before you actually go. So I bring a laptop,
right?
But it's never connected to anything. If it is connected, I have a dongle, not a Wi-Fi hotspot, but a dongle that plugs into the USB port on my computer. It gives me access to a 4G network, and the VPN tunnel is built into the dongle. It will not work unless the VPN tunnel is established. And if they knock off the VPN tunnel, which is what that's actually a technique. What you'll do is you'll kill the tunnel, and a lot of clients will just reestablish the connections unsecured.
Right.
Or they'll do what's called a 6 to 4. They'll run it from IPv6 to IPv4 or vice versa, and they'll spoof it in the middle. If any of that happens, I have set my dongle to automatically kill the connection. Now that does mean I will lose things in the middle of downloads, and I could never stream video, but it's much more secure.
Do you? Could we get a link for that dongle, maybe?
No, because I created it.
Of course. All right.
I'm not showing anyone else how I made it because it's mine.
So the recommendation is still just not to turn on your
don't turn on.
So what if you do have to, like, make a phone call, or you bring your laptop or something, you need to get on it to access something?
Exactly. Okay. So I will bring this laptop, and when I get home, this laptop gets reformatted. In fact, this is my yearly thing. It's kind of cool. I know Defcon's coming. That means it's time to reformat my system. So, that's always something I do. I don't connect to the Wi-Fi. I just don't.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm wondering, like, what could you bring? Like, I guess a burner phone. Like, if you absolutely.
You could bring a burner phone. I mean, yeah.
Like maybe a Chromebook that you're gonna format as soon as you're done.
Yeah.
Like, and don't do any banking, I'm guessing, while over the Wi-Fi.
No, what you want to do is you want to have in a text file like all your passwords.
Yeah, it says passwords on
your address, social security.
There's got to be honeypots set up too.
Oh
right?
gosh, yes.
Like people who just
set up. My phone is a honeypot.
Yeah.
When I walk around Defcon, I have a burner phone that's set as a honeypot.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because I always get someone connecting to it.
I kind of want to go with a Windows XP laptop or something. Not that I could probably even find one, but just set it up and see if anything happens.
It comes pre-owned.
Yeah, it's already
okay, now that's the security stuff, but this is what I actually bring to Defcon. If you go to the overhead shot here, actually you can't see most of it. Come back to the wide shot. I like the hardware hacking village. It's just a place where a bunch of geeks will go and they'll make stuff. Yeah. So I always bring my soldering kit. That's going to include, now you can go to the overhead.
That's more of a Defcon, that's Defcon, not Black Hat, huh?
Yeah, definitely not. No, Black Hat's all professional. Yeah. So, helping hands, a little bit of components, soldering, a little solder vault. This lets me assemble stuff while I'm at Defcon because there's always opportunities. And remember, Defcon is a social experience.
Yeah.
So if you come equipped, and you sit yourself down in the hardware hacking village, people will gather around you and you share. It's like someone wants to use some of your LEDs, great. Here's my soldering iron.
Like, what are you building over there?
Exactly. It's like I'm going to bring a bunch of quadcopter stuff. I'm going to be building a quadcopter or two.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, there's a couple of other people that are going to help me out with that. I always bring past Defcon badges. Just because I like the components and I can use them.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, you're going to get. I don't know what the badge is, but Lost does these, and they're always really, really nice. This is actually a computer. I have this one set up so that it's a MAME machine. So if you plug this into a TV, you can play like Galaga on this thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I also bring a Raspberry and an Arduino. Because I like to play, and because I also like to play, it means I've got one of these. This is a Z-Trades, I believe. Yeah, this is the breadboard that goes on top of the Arduino, and it allows me to use these jumper cables to like hook up components.
Okay, play around with stuff.
Right, and again, this is because I want to sit down with people, and I'm going to see something that someone else is making. We go, hey, I want to make that, and I've got the components for it. And of course, I got a box of goodies. In this case. Like this is all different kinds of LEDs. I've got blue, white, and green, red. And then I'm also bringing like motors, capacitors, resistors.
Sweet.
It's, what you essentially want is you want to bring stuff that other people might inspire you to make some other stuff with.
Right, yeah, that's the whole idea of it. It's the maker kind of idea.
Precisely.
It's a maker, it's more of a maker faire thing than it is like a hack. Like a hacker in the sense of like penetrating like a computer or something like that.
Yeah, you can do that, absolutely. And there's some great classes at Defcon, but really what I like is this community. These are people that I'll see once a year.
Smitty.
Smitty. They're starting to get used to the fact that there's a guy walking around in clericals. That was weird the first couple of years.
It took us a little while to get used to that
People are like, And the funny thing is, there's a high-ranking goon there by the name of Priest.
Goon. Is that a good term?
It's a good
term.
It's a good term.
Oh, okay.
So people were like, "Is that Priest?" I'm like, "No, it's a priest, not Priest."
The digital Jesuit.
Little Jesuit. Okay. All right, so that's Defcon. Well, by the way, we're going to be bringing you content from Defcon, so stay tapped for that.
Yep.
What's next?
So we've got.
Oh wait, yeah. This is not a question. This was sort of the zeitgeist of the Google Plus group. People wanted to know about Windows 10.
Yeah, big announcement this month.
Released.
It just came out yesterday.
Now, if you did the pre-sign up where like your Windows 8 or 7 was bugging you, hey, Windows 10 is coming out, and you signed up, more likely than not, that was already downloading to your computer, and so you'll be ready to go. But there's actually a better way. Alex, go ahead and run this. I like to get the installer. Now, the installer allows you to create media so you could upgrade your PC offline. I've done it several different ways. I've got the ISO, but in this particular case, I went ahead and made a USB drive. Now, this is just a Windows 10 setup screen. It lets you choose what version of Windows 10 you want. Do you want 32-bit? Do you want 64-bit? Do you want both? You know, do you want to have the option to install either? And I've gotten all the different versions because I had a super fast connection yesterday.
Nice.
Seriously, I got Windows 10 in like 10 minutes.
Can I borrow that USB?
Yeah, actually it's right here.
Sweet.
So this is the USB, yeah. So I made a USB flash drive. It downloads all the files that you need to be able to make the USB flash drive, and then it will create a bootable USB flash drive that you can use to upgrade your Windows 7 or Windows 8 machine.
Cool.
Now, what I really like about this is, you know, now I have it. This is something I really wanted for Windows 8. I have media that I can go from computer to computer and do installations on.
Yeah. That's cool.
By the way, you do want to take down your serial number before you start the installation.
Oh,
and I showed you how to get it off of Windows 8.
Last episode.
Yeah, there's actually a way to get it off of Windows 7. We should probably show you that too. But this is my Windows 10 flash drive.
Whoop.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
I'm going to be playing with that.
Yeah, 32, 64-bit. There you go.
Nice.
And yeah, just do it. Folks, remember, even if you're not going to install it now, go ahead and download it now. Because you have until, Alex, is it July 6, 2016 that they stopped making it free?
Yes, 1 year.
Yeah, so you got 1 year to download for free and install for free. So do it.
Huh. And then after that, you're going to have to pay, have they said?
No, they don't have pricing yet.
No, they'll figure out a price after that.
You can buy it retail now. I think it's 120 or something, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah, if you buy the full.
Why would you buy it?
If you don't have a computer that you're upgrading.
Ah, so if you already
Vista, XP.
Or a new computer that you're building yourself.
Or a new computer.
That makes...
Yeah. Which, by the way, you couldn't install this on a fresh computer without the serial number. You need the serial number.
That makes sense. I see.
All right. Now, we did have one more. You know what? Let's do this and not the parting shot, because I think this is important.
Yeah.
This actually got asked quite a few times. Go ahead and show that graphic, Alex.
So, the throttle curve flattening, this comes from David Dennis, in episode 152, was a little unclear. I would sure enjoy if you would go over that in much more detail, showing the graph on the TX as you make adjustments. I think it would be quite helpful, which for me too.
Yes.
Because you have to adjust the throttle for a lot of different situations, whether you had, you change the blades or you add more weight to your
battery,
quad, different batteries, yeah.
So yeah, it's not like set once and forget it. Although what I've done on my big transmitter, the one I use primarily, I have different profiles. So I have this craft with a 3S battery, this craft with a 4S battery, this craft with 10-inch props, this craft with 8-inch props, and then all the combinations therein. But that takes time.
Yeah.
The throttle curve is one of the most important things that you will ever set on your transmitter because it's such a basic function, and it really makes your craft far more controllable. Bryan, when you're flying, have you ever noticed that you're always having to ride your up down just to try to get it to stay?
Just trying to get it to hover.
Right.
Yeah, I had to do that.
It's because when you think about it, there's exactly one throttle setting at which it will hover.
Right.
Too much, it will start to rise, too little, it'll start to go down. But the problem is there's delay, right? It's not like instantaneous.
No.
You input and it builds up thrust, and then it decreases thrust. You have thrust decay. What you need to do is you need to set that ahead of time, and you need to make it easier for you to stick that sweet spot, the hover zone.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like a buffer of between max thrust and no thrust at all. There's like a little bit of a buffer that you have.
Now, luckily, there's a way to do that, and it's built into the transmitter. If you have a decent transmitter, called the throttle curve. Let me go ahead and make this a little easier for you to see. So if I go into my transmitter, and this is the FlySky, but but all decent transmitters will have some setting like this. I'm going to go ahead and go into, let's change to a different model so I have a nice...
So you don't screw up your old one?
Yeah, I don't screw up the old one. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into my setup. If I scroll down, I have a thing called throttle curve. Now, it looks just like a graph. Graph's going straight up, right?
Starting at 0, going to 25, 50, 75, and then full throttle.
Now, you'll notice that that line going up and down, that actually corresponds to where my throttle is. See how I can go all the way to full throttle and all the way down to 0 throttle, correct?
Correct.
See that? Okay, so what I want is I want my midway point to be hover. So when my stick is halfway, I want my craft hovering.
Right.
The problem is sometimes, depending on what kind of craft you have, sometimes you hover at 40% power, sometimes you hover at 60% power, depending on how light you are, powerful your motors are. So what I can do is let's say my hover point is actually 40%. So what I would do is I would go to the midpoint, number 2, and I would take that down to about 40% there. Okay? But now that means that at dead center stick, it's going to hover.
Right.
But still, that makes it very hard. I have to be exact center for it to get to that hover speed.
You want to give yourself a little plateau, right?
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the point before, and I'm going to flatten out this curve.
Yeah.
Like that. And I'm going to go after, and I'm going to flatten out that curve as well.
So now you've got a little buffer zone.
Exactly. Which means between, there we go, between here and here, I've got much more range where the thing is going to hover.
Yeah, you can kind of, it's a little less twitchy.
It's much less twitchy. Now, it also means that the throttle response is far greater between here and here, right? Because since I flattened that curve, it means I've steepened the curve in other places. So I get a big boost of speed up to hover, then it's going to stay hovering this entire time. And then huge boost of speed again as I punch it.
And I guess, yeah, you said it depends on the craft, but it probably also depends on how you like to fly your quad, too, right?
Some people really like touchy. I know some FPV pilots who they will actually set the throttle curve to be too sensitive because they're never standing still. They're always punching it, and they want really nice control of their throttle range.
Right.
So it depends on you. Personally, I like to have it so that anytime I'm halfway, I know I'm going to hover. Or if I'm not hovering, I know that I've got a large range to find it where it's not so sensitive. I'm going to be porpoising.
Yeah, if you find yourself doing this all the time, you might need a bigger buffer zone.
Might need a bigger boat.
Oh.
Wow. But that's it. So that's throttle curve. I can actually show you in a video later on how I do that, but it takes a lot of trial and error. Basically, it's me taking the craft up, finding my point, bringing it down, set the throttle curve, try it again. It's trial and error. I'll bring the thing up and down, and I'll have to do that in every configuration that I want to fly the craft in.
Yeah, it's part of the fun is just testing it out and figuring out what works best for you.
Right. The other thing is people have been confusing throttle curve with Expo. It's not the same. And we'll talk about Expo in a future episode. The Expo is Expo.
The baseball team?
Yes, the Canadian baseball team.
That no longer exists.
That no longer exists. No, but so Expo is sort of like what we're doing for the throttle curve, but it's with actual directional controls.
Oh, okay. So you're banking basically,
right?
Left,
like,
right.
Some people want very insensitive stick towards the middle, but then they want super sensitive towards the edge of the edge.
That's what I want because I want to do flips.
There you go. Yeah. So we can play with that. I think that's it. I mean, we've hit the hour. We were going to do one more story, but I think we're going to have to.
We'll save it for next time.
Bryan, I know this has been a lot of material, and we've definitely gone over a lot of stuff.
Yep.
If only there were a place where they could go to maybe get our notes.
Somewhere online that you could access.
Too bad that doesn't exist. Oh, wait, it does. That's right. Just go to twit.tv/KH for know-how. Not only will you find all of our back episodes and a place to subscribe. So if you want our episodes automatically in your device of choice, you can do that.
Download the episode of your choice.
That's right, if you want it on your device. You could also see our notes, and most of the time our notes make sense. Sometimes they get crammed together because of our publishing system.
I'm not sure what happened to those. I haven't been able to fix them yet.
Like, I spent so much time on those notes, and now it looks like someone just dumped them in a blender.
I mean, they're all still there. They're just not formatted very well.
So again,
I'm working on that because I logged into the site and when I looked at it on our end,
it looks good.
It looks fine,
Yeah.
and then I go back to our website.
We've got a couple of glitches.
We're working on it.
Yeah, know how we put out way more show notes than any other show, so sometimes we break things.
We're kind of unique in that way.
Sorry about that. Of course, you're going to want to join our Google Plus group. It's almost 9,000 members now, and it's a fantastic place to go if you're a DIYer, if you're a builder, a maker, no matter what.
A breaker,
where
a
do they
crasher. The Google Plus, just go on Google Plus, search for know-how, and yeah, join up, share your projects, send us pictures, videos of your crashes. Yeah, those seem pretty popular.
Yeah. Of course, that's not the only place where we get social. We're also on the tweeters.
The tweeters. If you ever want to see something behind the scenes or what we're coming up with next week, we're probably going to be posting a lot of stuff from Defcon.
Yeah, we are.
If we are brave enough to
Defcon.
Yeah, we're brave enough to turn our when we get back from
the house.
Yeah. But you can follow me on Twitter at @cranky_hippo.
You can find me at PadreSJ, and of course you can find our TD. What's his name again?
You think I'd remember this by now?
Like Mal.
Mal.
Like from Firefly. Mal Grumple.
He usually cuts our mics before we can say his name.
It doesn't matter. I'm too dirty right now.
He is bathing in bacteria.
You can find me in the shower.
Bathing in Purell. You can find him at twitter.com/ANELF3. So if you have any questions about the disgusting surface that he's using right now, just get him there. Next week, actually, we're going to be at Defcon, so we're going to be pre-recording an episode later on today. Guess what we're doing?
What are we doing?
I'm going to show people how to tune their network cameras. We're doing a little thing on upgrading the flight controller in your KK Craft.
Nice.
Yeah, and we're going to do more questions and answers.
Sweet.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Now, thanks to everyone who makes this show possible. Of course, to Lisa and to Leo, to Cranky Hippo and to Alex. And until then, I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
And I'm Bryan Burnett.
And now that you know how,
go do it with Bacteria.